They say you can't choose your family. What they don't tell you is that sometimes your family chooses to destroy you. I'm Edward Hargrave. 5 days before I was supposed to marry the woman I love, my son had me declared incompetent and locked away in a care facility. He thought I was a senile old fool. He thought wrong.
Welcome back to Karma Café, where we serve truth scolding hot and revenge ice cold. I'm your host, Makosi McIntosh, and today we have something truly special for you. We're expanding our podcast family, and I couldn't be more thrilled to introduce you to Nate Matthews.
Thank you so much, Makosi. I have to tell you, sitting here right now, I'm genuinely overwhelmed and excited to join the Karma Café family. Today's email is coming to us from Edward in New York. And while we get into today's story, we are actually sitting here with an Americano, Edward's favorite coffee. He swears it keeps the mind sharp and the truth sharper, so I thought I'd honor him with a cup of my own. Alright, Makosi, let's open the doors to Karma Café and see what Edward in New York has to tell us today.
Please, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let us know, what's your favorite coffee? And where are you listening from?
The morning of my kidnapping started like any other Monday. I woke at 6:30 in my Riverside drive home, sunlight streaming through the bedroom windows. Catherine had stayed at her apartment the night before. She was old-fashioned about not spending the night together before the wedding. I was 73. She was 56. My son Daniel, at 51, thought I was making a terrible mistake. "Dad, you barely know her," he'd said over dinner weeks before. "8 months? Don't you think you're rushing this? I've known loneliness for 12 years since your mother passed," I'd replied. "Catherine makes me happy. Or she makes you think you're happy." His eyes went cold. "I'm worried about your judgment. I should have seen it then. But he was my son. I wanted to believe he cared." That Monday morning, July 5, 2021, I made coffee and settled into my study to review documents. Changes to my will, estate planning. Smart to have everything in order before a wedding. I'd been doing more than wedding planning though. For months, I'd been reviewing company financials with my attorney Gerald. Something didn't add up. Money moving in ways that made no sense. I was getting close to finding the pattern. I signed the last page and set it aside. Then I checked my phone. Catherine's text, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Final dress fitting tomorrow." Our wedding was Saturday. 5 days away. I smiled, typed my reply. The front door opened. "Dad, you home?" Daniel's voice echoed through the house. I glanced at my watch, 8:15. Daniel never visited before noon. In the study, I called back. He appeared in the doorway with 2 men in dark suits and a woman in a white coat carrying a medical bag. "Daniel? What's this about?" My son's face wore false concern. But underneath, I caught something else. Triumph. "Dad, we need to talk." He stepped into the room. "I've been worried about you. Very worried." "Worried about what?" "I'm fine. Are you?" He gestured to one of the suited men, who produced a folder. "Dr. Morrison has reviewed your recent behavior. The sudden engagement to a woman you barely know. Erratic decision-making. Questions about money that make no sense." "What are you talking about?" "Mr. Hargrave," the doctor interrupted. "I'm Dr. Patricia Morrison. Your son contacted me about concerning symptoms. Memory lapses, poor judgment, possible dementia." "That's absurd." I stood, anger flaring. "Daniel, what the hell is this?" "Dad, please sit down. You're getting agitated." His voice dripped with fake patience. "The mood swings, the anger, that's part of the problem. I'm angry because you've brought strangers into my home making ridiculous accusations." The doctor opened her bag. "Mr. Hargrave, I'd like to run a few tests. Can you tell me what day it is?" "It's Monday, July 5, 2021. I'm 73 years old. I live at 1247 Riverside Drive, and I'm in full possession of my faculties." I looked at Daniel. "What is this really about?" "Sir, your son has obtained a court order." One of the suited men produced papers. "Based on medical evaluation and testimony about your declining mental state, a judge has authorized a competency evaluation. We're here to escort you to a facility." The world tilted. "A facility?" "Daniel, you can't be serious." "Dad, it's just for evaluation. Until we establish whether you're capable of making sound decisions." His eyes said something different. His eyes said, "I've won. I'm getting married Saturday." "That's part of the problem," Daniel said quietly. "A woman you've known 8 months, and you're changing your will, asking strange questions about company finances." "How do you know about my will?" He didn't even look ashamed. "I'm your son. I'm concerned about protecting you." "Catherine isn't a threat. Please, Mr. Hargrave." The doctor's hand was on my arm. grip surprisingly firm. If you'll come voluntarily, this will be easier. If you resist, we're authorized to sedate you. I stared at the needle she'd produced, at the two large men blocking the doorway, at my son, who couldn't quite hide his cold calculation. This wasn't about my mental health. This was about control, about money, about stopping the wedding and the questions I'd been asking. I'll call my attorney, I said, reaching for my phone. Daniel was faster. He plucked it from my desk, his smile sad for the benefit of his witnesses. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. Let's get you help. You son of a... Mr. Hargrave. That hostility is exactly what concerns us. Dr. Morrison was ready, needle in hand. I'm going to give you something to calm down. Don't you dare. But one of the suited men grabbed my arm. I struggled, but at 73, I didn't stand a chance. The needle bit into my arm. Fire spread through my veins, followed by creeping numbness. It's for your own good, Dad, Daniel said. Those were the last words I heard in my own home. The last thing I saw was my son looking at the signed documents with naked hunger. I woke in a white room. Beige walls, a narrow bed with rails, a single window with bars disguised as decorative metalwork. The kind of place designed to look comfortable while ensuring you couldn't leave. My head throbbed. My mouth tasted like chemicals. I tried to sit up and found I was strapped down. Panic surged through me. I yanked at the restraints, but they held firm. My voice came out rough, desperate. Someone help me. Footsteps in the hallway. A heavy-set woman appeared at the small window in the door. Mr. Hargrave, you need to calm down. You're safe here. I don't need to be safe. I need to be free. This is a mistake. Sir, that's what they all say at first. Her voice was practiced, bored. Dr. Morrison will be by soon. Try to rest. I don't need rest. I need a phone. I need to call my fiancée. But she was already walking away. I lay there, breathing hard, staring at the ceiling. Catherine would be worried by now. She'd try to reach me. What would Daniel tell her? The worst part was how carefully he'd planned this. The court order, the medical testimony, witnesses. He'd built a cage of paperwork, and I'd walked right into it. He'd dragged me into it. I tested the restraints methodically. No give. I forced myself to think past the panic. Daniel thought he'd neutralized me. But he'd make mistakes. Arrogance always left gaps. First, I needed information. Where was I? What legal status did I have? Second, I needed to get a message to Catherine. She'd fight for me. Third, I needed to figure out Daniel's endgame. The door opened. Dr. Morrison entered, trailed by a younger man in scrubs, an orderly. He was mixed race, maybe mid-20s, with striking green eyes and a wary expression. Mr. Hargrave, Dr. Morrison said, pulling up a chair. How are you feeling? How do you think? You drugged me and imprisoned me. We sedated you because you were becoming violent. This is Whispering Pines Care Facility. You're here for evaluation. I don't have a cognitive disorder. I have a son who wants my money. She made a note on her tablet. Paranoia regarding family members is common in early-stage dementia. Tell me, do you know what day it is? It was Monday when you kidnapped me. Given I've been unconscious, I assume it's still Monday, probably afternoon. July 5th, 2021. And where are you? According to you, Whispering Pines. Another note. You seem quite lucid. That's because I am lucid. I'm also a prisoner. Mr. Hargrave, your son provided extensive documentation. Missed appointments, confusion, erratic financial decisions. Such as? She consulted her tablet. Proposing marriage to a woman you've known less than a year and immediately changing your will. I've known Catherine 8 months. Adults are allowed to make relationship choices. And I update my will regularly. Catherine isn't even the primary beneficiary. That caught her attention. She's not? No. Most of my estate goes to charitable foundations. But I doubt Daniel mentioned that. Dr. Morrison was quiet, studying me. Then she stood. We'll continue this evaluation over the coming weeks. I need to review your file more thoroughly. Weeks? I'm getting married Saturday. Once we've established your competency, you'll have full privileges. Until then, we ensure stability. In other words, Daniel told you to keep me isolated. We follow proper protocols, Mr. Hargrave. She nodded to the orderly. Eddie will get you settled. The restraints can come off if you promise to behave. I'm not a child. Then don't act like one. She left. The orderly, Eddie, moved forward slowly. Mr. Hargrave? I'm going to undo these straps. Please don't try anything. I looked at him properly. He had an honest face, tired but kind. I'm not going to attack you, I said. I just want to use the bathroom. It's not a prison. But his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? I'm here against my will. Can't communicate with anyone. Can't leave. What would you call it? His hands paused on the restraints. I'd call it complicated. He finished unbuckling the straps. I sat up slowly, head spinning. What's your name again? Eddie. Eddie Thomas. I made my way to the bathroom on unsteady legs. In the mirror, I looked old. Defeated. Daniel thought this would break me. I gripped the sink and met my own eyes. Not a chance. When I came out, Eddie was standing by the window. How long have you worked here? I asked. He turned. About 6 months. Part-time. I'm a student. Studying what? Business administration. Finance and management. Pride in his voice. Working here pays for tuition. That's admirable. I sat on the bed. Eddie, do I seem incompetent to you? Confused? He was quiet for a long moment. No, sir. You seem angry and trapped, but not confused. Then why am I here? Because someone with the right paperwork said you should be. He moved toward the door. Get some rest, Mr. Hargrave. Dinner's at 6. After he left, I lay there thinking. About Daniel's betrayal. About Catherine's worry. About the life I'd been living just hours ago. But I wasn't broken. Daniel had made one critical mistake. He assumed that because I was older, I was weaker. He'd forgotten I'd built a business empire through strategy and determination. He was wrong. I just needed time. And allies. My eyes drifted to the door where Eddie had exited. The young man with the honest face and crushing student debt. Who'd looked at me and seen a person. Time and allies. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The first days at Whispering Pines were designed to break you. I'd built enough businesses to recognize the strategy. Isolate the target, control information, make them doubt themselves. They'd taken my phone, wallet, watch. No way to track time except by meal delivery. No contact with the outside world. Dr. Morrison came twice daily for evaluations that felt like interrogations. It would have worked on someone else. But I was Edward Hargrave. And I'd been playing complex games since before these people were born. I needed information. The facility's routines, security protocols, who made decisions. Most importantly, what legal status Daniel had secured for me. I played the role they expected. Frustrated but not aggressive. Compliant enough to avoid restraints. Resistant enough to seem authentic. The facility was small, maybe 30 residents across 2 wings. One for genuine memory care patients. The other for transitional residents, people whose families had them here while legal matters sorted out. I was in the transitional wing. That told me something. Daniel hadn't gotten me declared permanently incompetent. This was a holding pattern. Which meant Catherine was probably fighting back. The thought of her gave me strength. I imagined her at my house, demanding answers. Calling Gerald. Hiring investigators. Catherine had built her own tech company and sold it for a fortune. She didn't give up easily. If I could just get a message to her. Eddie worked evening shifts, 7 to midnight, 3 times a week. I learned his schedule by listening to staff conversations. Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. On days he wasn't there, other orderlies handled rounds. Efficient but impersonal. But Eddie was different. He talked to people like they mattered. He remembered names, asked questions, showed genuine interest. The kid had character. On my 4th night, Thursday, Eddie was back. He brought my dinner around 7:30. Evening, Mr. Hargrave. How are you feeling? Like a man trapped in a cage, I said honestly, but the food's probably better than what I'd have cooked myself. He cracked a smile. Low bar, sir. Eddie, drop the sir. Makes me feel ancient. Edward's fine. I don't think. What are they going to do? Fire you for being friendly? I gestured to the chair by my bed. Stay a minute. I'm going crazy in here, and you're the only person who talks to me like I'm human. He hesitated, then sat. Just for a minute. What are you studying? Business administration, you said? Finance and management. I want to work in corporate finance eventually, but ambitious. You take a game theory class? Last semester, actually. Then you know the Nash equilibrium, the point where no player can improve their position alone. He tilted his head, a gesture of curiosity. Yeah, why? Because that's where I am. I can't improve my situation without external help, but anyone who helps me risks their own position. Classic coordination problem. Eddie's eyes sharpened. You're saying you need an ally with different payoff incentives. Exactly. I set down my fork. My son put me here to stop my wedding and control my assets. I'm not confused. I'm just inconvenient. But I can't prove that from inside. Edward, I can't. I'm not asking you to. Not yet. I'm just explaining the game state. I paused. You're smart. Studying finance. You understand incentive structures. He was quiet. Thinking. What about your fiancée? He asked. What's her incentive? Catherine? Truth. She's independently wealthy. Made her fortune in tech. She doesn't need my money. She just needs to know I'm all right. If she's wealthy and connected, she can hire lawyers, investigators. She can, and I'm sure she is. But my son has home court advantage. Documentation, medical testimony, a court order. It'll take time to unravel. Eddie stood. I should go. I get it. You've got to protect your position. I met his eyes. But Eddie, just think about whether the game you're in is the one you thought you were playing. He left without another word, but I could see I'd planted something. The days blurred together. Dr. Morrison's evaluations. Meals at fixed times. The common room with its TV playing mindless shows. I sat among other residents, feeling like a fraud. These people needed care. I was just a prisoner. In the evenings, when Eddie worked, I found excuses to be in the common room. There was a chess set on a side table, dusty from disuse. On my second week, I was setting up the board when he passed by. You play? I asked. My mom taught me basics when I was a kid. Want a game? He glanced at the hallway, then sat. Quick one. We played in comfortable silence. Eddie was decent, knew basic openings, understood tactics. You're good at this, he said after I won practice. I used to play with someone I worked with years ago. Very smart woman. She taught me that chess is about seeing patterns others miss. Your business partner? My bookkeeper, actually. Charlotte. One of the sharpest minds I've ever known. The memory made me smile and ache at the same time. She disappeared years ago. Never knew what happened to her. Eddie's expression was unreadable. That's sad. It is. I reset the board. Again? We played 3 times that week. It became our ritual. By the end of week 2, I'd cataloged everything using memory techniques I'd learned in business school, spatial association, mental categorization, staff schedules, security blind spots, Dr. Morrison's patterns. When I got out, I'd have everything I needed. When? Not if. Week 3 brought a shift. Eddie arrived for his Thursday shift looking exhausted. When he brought my dinner, I noticed dark circles under his eyes. You look like hell, I said. He laughed, surprised. Pulling doubles. We're short-staffed. That's rough. You need sleep. I'm young. I'll survive. He sat without being asked. Progress. How are you holding up? Better now that I have a chess opponent. I gestured at the board. One game? We played. I won. But Eddie was improving. You're getting better, I said. Good teacher. He paused. I've been thinking about what you said. About the game. My heart rate picked up, but I kept my voice calm. And, the thing is, I've been working here 6 months. I've seen maybe 24 people in this wing. Some really need to be here, but some. He trailed off. Some are just inconvenient to somebody with power. And which category do you think I'm in? I think you're the sharpest person in this facility, including most of the staff. He said it matter-of-factly. I think your son is probably bad news, and I think you're stuck in a system designed to protect the wrong people. That's a lot of thinking. Yeah, well, I had time during rounds. He glanced down the hallway. I'm not saying I'll help you, but I'm not saying I won't. I need to think about it more. Fair enough. But Eddie, can I give you one more thing to think about? What's that? In game theory, there's the iterated prisoner's dilemma. Multiple rounds of the same game, where cooperation can build over time. The winning strategy isn't always defection. Sometimes it's reciprocal altruism. You help someone when they need it, trusting that help comes back eventually. Eddie's expression was unreadable. Are you offering me something? I'm offering my word that I don't forget kindness. Beyond that, I'm just asking you to think. I should go, Eddie. He stopped at the door. Thank you for treating me like a person. That matters more than you know. The next evening, Eddie didn't work Fridays. Felt endless. I sat in the common room, watching other residents. An elderly man dozing. A woman working on a puzzle. I thought about Daniel's deception. The first real clue that something was wrong with my son should have been 25 years ago, when he accused Charlotte of theft. Charlotte, my brilliant bookkeeper. We'd worked closely together, played chess in my office sometimes, discussed strategy. She was sharp, ethical, one of the smartest people I'd ever hired. When I returned from that 3-month Asia trip and found her gone, Daniel had his story ready. $6 million missing. Transfer records with Charlotte's signatures. Offshore accounts in her name. Something about it felt wrong. Charlotte vanishing without warning didn't fit with the woman I'd known. But Daniel must have forged evidence that looked legitimate. And Charlotte wouldn't answer calls, wouldn't respond to my messages. I tried to find her for months, hired investigators, left messages saying I wanted to hear her side, but she never responded. Eventually I'd had to close the case and move forward. But I'd never felt right about it. Never stopped wondering if I'd missed something. If Daniel's story was too convenient, too perfect, that nagging doubt should have told me everything. If I'd trusted my instincts instead of accepting Daniel's lies, maybe I could have found the truth sooner. Too many regrets. Too many people I'd failed because I'd wanted to believe my son. I should have tried harder. Should have known my son was lying. Saturday brought Eddie back. He approached me in the common room during his rounds. "Got a minute?" he asked quietly. We moved to my room. He closed the door. "Okay," he said. "I'll help you. But carefully, and on my terms. If it gets too risky, I stop. Deal?" Relief washed over me. "Deal. Thank you, Eddie. I might regret this." "You won't. I promise." He pulled out his phone, against facility rules. But most orderlies kept them for emergencies. "What's her number?" I recited Catherine's cell from memory. Eddie typed it in, then handed me the phone. "Make it quick." My hands shook as I typed. "Catherine, it's Edward. I'm at Whispering Pines Care Facility, about an hour north of the city. Daniel had me committed on false pretenses. I'm safe but trapped. Don't confront him directly. He has legal papers. Get Gerald and fight this through proper channels. I love you. I'm coming home. E." I handed it back. Eddie glanced at the message, then hit send. Done. "If she responds, I'll let you know. Thank you. Truly. Don't thank me yet. The hard part's ahead." Around 10, my door opened. "Eddie," looking tense. She responded. He showed me his phone. "Thank God you're alive. Gerald already filed preliminary motions. Don't worry, my love, I'm bringing you home. Stay strong. C." Another message. "P.S. Who is this number? How do I reach you?" I looked at Eddie. "Your call," he thought, then typed. "I'm a friend helping Edward. Can't give details. Will pass messages when safe. He can't receive calls directly. E." Catherine's response came quickly. "Thank you for helping him. Please tell him I love him and I'm not giving up. Whatever you need, let me know." Eddie showed me. I smiled despite everything. "She's something else. Your fiancée? If she'll still have me after all this. If she's fighting this hard, I think she'll still have you." We talked until Eddie had to finish rounds. When he left, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: hope. Week 4 brought routine. Dr. Morrison's evaluations continued, but I sensed her certainty wavering. Eddie passed messages between Catherine and me every few days. Brief updates that kept me sane. "Gerald's building a case. We found inconsistencies in Daniel's paperwork." "Hold on. C." "Hired investigators. They're digging into Daniel's finances. Getting closer. C." "Miss you every second. This will be over soon. C." Each message was a lifeline. Eddie and I played chess regularly. He was improving fast, thinking several moves ahead, setting up combinations. "You're getting dangerous," I said after he won his second game. He grinned. "Learned from the best. Your mom taught you well. She sounds like a smart woman." "She is. Raised me alone, worked multiple jobs, made sure I had everything I needed." He moved a pawn. "I owe her everything. She should be proud. You turned out well." "Thanks." He paused. "Edward, when you get out, and you will, what's the first thing you'll do?" "See Catherine. Then start making sure Daniel can never do this to anyone else." "You're going after him legally?" "Legally, financially, every way possible. He needs to face consequences." Eddie nodded slowly. "Good." Week 5 changed everything. Sunday morning, one of the nurses approached me. "Mr. Hargrave? You have a visitor. Dr. Morrison will supervise, but you're cleared for 30 minutes. My heart leapt. Catherine. But when they led me to the visitor's room, the woman waiting wasn't Catherine. She was in her early 50s, an African-American woman with gray streaks, carrying herself with quiet strength despite obvious nervousness. She wore simple clothes and her hands trembled slightly. I'd never seen her before. "Mr. Hargrave," Dr. Morrison said, "this is Charlotte Thomas. She requested to see you." Charlotte Thomas. The name meant nothing. The woman sat across from me, hands clasped tight, and studied my face with unsettling intensity. "Mr. Hargrave," she said quietly, "you don't remember me. But 25 years ago, I worked for you. My name was Charlotte Matthews then." The room tilted. Charlotte Matthews. The brilliant young woman who'd been my bookkeeper. The one who disappeared without a trace. The one Daniel claimed had stolen $6 million. "Charlotte," I breathed. "My God. I tried to find you. I tried." "I know." Her eyes glistened. "I got your messages. All of them. But I was too afraid to respond." Dr. Morrison leaned forward. "Miss Thomas, perhaps you should explain why you're here." Charlotte took a breath. "Because someone called me yesterday. Catherine Wells. She hired investigators who found me. She told me you were here. Locked up by your son. The same son who destroyed my life 25 years ago. The pieces clicked together. Fast and terrible. Daniel, I said. What did he do to you? He got me pregnant. Her voice was steady, but I heard emotion underneath. I was 27, working as your bookkeeper. Daniel was 26. I was flattered when he paid attention to me. Stupid, but flattered. She stood, paced to the window. When I told him I was pregnant, he changed. Became cold. Told me to terminate it. Said he'd deny it was his, that no one would believe me. Charlotte, I'm so sorry. Let me finish, please. She gathered herself. I noticed irregularities in the accounts around the same time. Money moving strangely. When I investigated, I found systematic embezzlement. $6 million over 18 months, all pointing back to Daniel. Dr. Morrison shifted in her corner. I confronted him, Charlotte continued. Told him I had to report it. That's when he made his threat. He'd been planning for this, setting everything up so if anyone discovered the theft, all evidence would point to me. Forged signatures, transfer authorizations with my name. He said if I told anyone about the pregnancy or embezzlement, he'd have me arrested. I'd lose my baby to the system. Jesus Christ. The words came out hoarse. Why didn't you come to me? You were overseas. 3-month Asia expansion trip? You left right after I found out I was pregnant. And Daniel was your son. Who would believe me over him? Tears streaked her face. So I ran. Took what little I had and disappeared. Changed my name to Thomas, my mother's maiden name. Moved 3 states away. Tried to build a new life. The money. The missing funds. That was all Daniel? Every cent. When you came back and found me gone, he told you I'd stolen it? Made me the villain. And I couldn't defend myself without risking everything. Dr. Morrison cleared her throat. Mrs. Thomas, why come forward now? Because Catherine Wells found me. Because she told me what Daniel did to his own father. Because I realized if I didn't speak up, I'd be enabling another of his crimes. Charlotte looked at me directly. And because Catherine's investigator showed me something. A photograph of the orderly who's been helping you send messages. A young man named Eddie Thomas. My heart stopped. Your grandson, Mr. Hargrave. Eddie is your grandson. The baby I was carrying when I ran. Daniel's son. Your family. The room spun. Eddie with his green eyes and kind smile and strategic thinking. Eddie, I whispered. Eddie is Daniel's son? He is. Though he doesn't know it. I never told him who his father was. How could I? What would I say? Does Eddie know about me? That I'm his grandfather? No. Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. She laughed bitterly. Strange to ask permission to unite a family. Does Eddie know about you working for me? About Daniel? No. I kept it hidden. Told him we moved around for my work, that his father wasn't in the picture. He knows I changed my name at some point, but not why. Dr. Morrison stood. I need to consult with legal counsel. Mrs. Thomas, thank you for coming forward. Your testimony corroborates several inconsistencies I've found. She looked at me. Mr. Hargrave, I'm expediting my evaluation report. Based on what I've heard and observed, I believe there are serious questions about your commitment's legitimacy. How long? I'll have a preliminary report ready tomorrow. If it supports release, we'll need court approval, which could take time, but you won't be here much longer. After Dr. Morrison left, it was just Charlotte and me. I should have protected you, I said. You worked for me. With me. We were colleagues. I valued your judgment on deals, your brilliant mind. And I failed you. You didn't know. Daniel's a convincing liar. She reached across the table, and I took her hand. But Edward, I need you to understand. Eddie's a good man. Nothing like his father. He's kind and hard-working and honest. I raised him to be better. I can see that. He's been a light in a dark month. And to know he's family. Emotion choked my words. He doesn't know yet. I wanted you to decide. Do you want him to know? Because once he knows, everything changes. Of course I want him to know. He's my grandson. My family. Even though that makes him Daniel's son? Especially because of that. Eddie proves DNA isn't destiny. I squeezed her hand. Charlotte, when I get out, and I will, I want to make this right. The money Daniel stole. The years you lost. The lies that kept us apart. I don't want money. It's not about want. It's about justice. Daniel took everything from you. He took my grandson from me before I knew I had one. He's going to pay for all of it. Charlotte studied me. Working with you all those years ago, I saw what kind of man you were. Fair, honest, kind. Catherine reminded me of that when she found me. She said Daniel's cruelty didn't come from you. I never doubted that. When did you speak to Catherine? Yesterday. We talked for 2 hours. She's remarkable, Edward. Strong and smart and absolutely furious about what Daniel did. Charlotte smiled. She loves you very much. I love her too. We were supposed to be married by now. You will be. Catherine's not the type to give up. A knock at the door. The nurse, indicating time was up. Charlotte stood. I'll tell Eddie. Tonight. He deserves the truth. Charlotte, I said as she turned to leave. Thank you. For coming here. For raising Eddie to be the man he is. For being brave enough to tell the truth after all these years. Thank you for trying to find me back then. For not believing I was a thief. That means more than you know. She paused. Your grandson's working tonight, 7 to midnight. Maybe, when he comes to check on you, you can talk, knowing what you know now. Then she was gone, leaving me alone with revelation. Eddie was my grandson. Some part of me had known. The familiarity, the connection that felt deeper than it should. Daniel had stolen so much. Years with Charlotte, years with Eddie, the chance to watch my grandson grow up. The rage that had been simmering blazed hotter. Daniel was going to pay. Not just for what he'd done to me, but for what he'd done to Charlotte and Eddie. I would make sure of it. The next morning, another visitor arrived. I was in my room when Dr. Morrison appeared with an unusual expression. Something between concern and anger. Mr. Hargrave, you have another visitor. Dr. Lorraine Hayes. She's the physician who signed your medical evaluation. My stomach dropped. The woman who'd helped Daniel lock me up wanted to see me? Why? She says she needs to tell you something. That she owes you the truth. Dr. Morrison paused. I'll be in the room, but I think you should hear what she has to say. They brought me to the visiting room. The woman waiting looked like she was facing execution. Dr. Lorraine Hayes was in her early 50s, blonde hair pulled back tight, dark circles under her eyes. She wore civilian clothes and her hands were clasped so tightly her knuckles had gone white. When I sat across from her, she flinched. Mr. Hargrave. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't have much choice. No, I suppose you didn't. Just like. She swallowed hard. Just like you didn't have a choice when I signed those papers. I said nothing. Just watched her struggle. She reached for the water cup on the table. Her hand shook so badly that water sloshed over the rim. She set it down without drinking, wiped her palm on her jeans. I need to tell you what your son did to me, she said finally. What I let him do to you. I'm listening. She took a shaky breath and started talking. 5 years ago, I almost lost everything to a gambling addiction. I'm an ER physician, single mom. 2 kids, Emma's 16, Jake's 14. I racked up $80,000 in debts playing underground card games. Stole from my kids' college funds. Lied to everyone. Her fingers twisted together, knuckles cracking. But I got help. Gamblers Anonymous. Paid back every cent over 3 years. My kids know about my problem. They were proud of me for fighting it. Her voice cracked. We're proud. What happened? Your son happened. Dr. Hayes stood abruptly, paced to the window. Couldn't stay still. June 15th. Tuesday night GA meeting at St. Mark's Church. About 15 people in the circle. I shared my story, talked about my addiction, my recovery, my kids. How I'd been clean 5 years, 2 months, 16 days. She turned back to me, arms wrapped around herself. Your son was in that circle. He'd been coming for about 3 months, well dressed, didn't share much. After the meeting, he came up to me, said my story resonated, asked if we could grab coffee, and you said yes. I said yes. He seemed genuine, lost, said he was divorced, estranged from family, struggling with gambling debts himself. I thought I was helping him. She laughed bitterly. He was so convincing. Dr. Hayes moved back to the table but didn't sit, stood gripping the chair back. We met for coffee 3 times over 2 weeks. He asked about my kids, my work, my recovery. Built trust. Then he said he was thinking about going to a card game. Not to play, just to watch. Face his triggers. Exposure therapy. He wanted you to come. To keep him accountable. To prove we were both strong enough. Her grip tightened until I thought the plastic might crack. Every instinct screamed no. But he looked so desperate. And part of me, she closed her eyes. Part of me wanted to prove I could handle it. She finally sat, perched on the edge like she might bolt. The game was in a basement I hadn't been to in 5 years. High-stakes poker. The second I walked in, the smell, the sounds, I knew I'd made a mistake. My hands started shaking. Her hands shook now as she spoke. Daniel said we'd just watch. 30 minutes. But then he suggested one hand. Just one. Small stakes. But you didn't stop at 1. 1 became 5. 5 became 20. And I was winning. God. I was winning big. Her voice took on a haunted quality. I was up 15,000 by midnight. The rush was back, pure and intoxicating. She looked at me, shame burning in her eyes. Daniel kept encouraging me. "You're on fire," he'd say. "One more hand." And when I ran out of chips, he offered to spot me. "Front me the money. You're winning," he said. "You'll pay me back from your winnings." But the wins stopped. By 2 a.m., I'd lost everything. The $15,000 I'd won, plus another $85,000 Daniel had fronted me. $100,000, Mr. Hargrave. Money I didn't have. Money I'd never have. Her voice went flat, mechanical. Daniel's whole demeanor changed. The friendly, struggling addict disappeared. He pulled me aside, showed me a notebook where he'd been tracking every chip. $100,000. Plus interest, he wanted 120 total. Jesus Christ. I told him I didn't have it, that I needed time. He said no. Said he needed payment within 2 weeks, or he'd go to loan sharks. They'd come after me. My house, my kids. Dr. Hayes' composure cracked. Tears spilled over. But then he said there was another option. He needed medical paperwork signed. His father, you, needed evaluation for cognitive decline. He needed a physician's affidavit supporting a commitment petition. Professional medical opinion for the court. You'd never met me. Never heard your name. I told him that was fraud. That I'd lose my license. She wiped her face with shaking hands. He said I'd lose more than my license if loan sharks came after me. That my kids would lose their mother. That Emma and Jake had forgiven me once. Would they forgive me again? Would they feel safe with loan sharks threatening our family? So you signed. I signed a medical affidavit stating I'd reviewed your case history, observed concerning symptoms consistent with early-stage dementia, and recommended immediate evaluation and possible involuntary commitment. Her voice broke. None of it was true. I'd never seen you. Never reviewed any medical history. I signed and gave your son what he needed to imprison you. The silence stretched. Dr. Morrison shifted uncomfortably. I told myself maybe you really did need help, Dr. Hayes whispered. That Daniel seemed concerned. But I knew better. I knew I was committing fraud to pay a gambling debt. She looked up, tears streaming. Then 3 weeks ago, a man came into my ER. Late 40s, beaten badly. Broken ribs, fractured jaw. Loan sharks. While treating him, he started talking. The pain meds made him loose. I leaned forward. What did he say? He said the game where he'd lost his money was rigged. That a guy named Daniel Hargrave ran it with other players. They'd bring in marks, let them win big early, then clean them out with marked cards and stacked decks. He'd lost $40,000 before he figured it out. Her hands clenched into fists. I asked about a game in mid-June. A woman playing, winning big, then losing everything. He remembered. Said they'd set her up perfectly. Let her win 15 grand. Then took her for 100,000. Said Daniel was laughing about it. Stupid doctor thought she was lucky. You realized you'd been conned. Every hand was controlled. The 100,000 I lost was deliberate. Daniel created a debt I couldn't pay. Then offered a way out that required me to commit fraud. She looked at me directly. 3 days after treating that patient, investigators showed up at the hospital. They worked for Catherine Wells. They knew about the medical affidavit. Knew Daniel had manipulated me. When they offered me immunity in exchange for testimony, I said yes. I needed to make this right. Dr. Morrison cleared her throat. For the record, the medical evaluation Dr. Hayes signed was the basis for the court order that brought you here. Without her fraudulent affidavit, your son couldn't have obtained judicial approval. She's agreed to testify that the document was signed under duress and contains no legitimate medical assessment. I studied Dr. Hayes, this woman who'd helped imprison me, now sitting broken across from me. How did Daniel know you were a doctor? I asked. I took a hospital call during a coffee meeting. Had to step outside. When I came back, he asked about my work. She closed her eyes. I handed him everything he needed. Did you gamble again after that night? No. Went straight to my sponsor the next morning. Confessed everything. Restarted my count. I'm at 48 days clean now. And your kids? Fresh tears. I told them yesterday. Emma said she was disappointed but still loved me. Jake. She couldn't finish. I leaned back, feeling anger building. But not at her. At Daniel. Dr. Hayes, my son is a predator. He found your weakness and exploited it. You made a choice under duress, $120,000 debt and threats against your children. That doesn't excuse the fraud, but it explains it. Mr. Hargrave. 25 years ago, my son did the same thing to another woman. Got her pregnant, framed her for embezzlement, threatened her until she disappeared. Same playbook. Find someone vulnerable, exploit them, threaten their family. You're his victim, just like Charlotte, just like me. She was sobbing now, shoulders shaking. I'm testifying against him, she said through tears. Everything. The rigged game? The manipulation? The blackmail? I'm making sure he pays. Good, I said simply. He deserves prison. She looked up, surprised. You're not angry at me. I'm furious at my son. You? You're just another person he destroyed. I paused. But you're making it right now. That matters. Dr. Morrison stood. Time's up. Dr. Hayes, thank you for coming. As they let her out, Dr. Hayes turned back. I hope you get out of here soon, Mr. Hargrave. I hope you marry your fiancée and have the life your son tried to steal. I will. And when I do, I'm going to make sure Daniel never hurts anyone else again. After she left, Dr. Morrison sat across from me. You handled that with remarkable grace. She's not the enemy. She's collateral damage. Still, most people wouldn't see it that way. She pulled out her tablet. Catherine Wells' investigators are thorough. They found the beaten player, Marcus Chen. He's willing to testify about the rigged game. Combined with Dr. Hayes' testimony and Charlotte Thomas's account, your son's case collapses completely. When do I get out? I'm filing my report today. Emergency hearing Monday. You should be out early next week. Finally, your son's house of cards is collapsing, Mr. Hargrave. And you're going to be free to watch it fall. That night, Eddie brought my dinner. His movements were mechanical, his smile forced. He knew. Charlotte had told him. He made his rounds slowly. I sat in my room, waiting, heart pounding. At 8:30, my door opened. Eddie stood in the doorway, eyes red-rimmed. Can we talk? Please. And Eddie, it's Edward. Or, if you want. I couldn't finish. He stepped inside, closed the door, leaned against it. My mom came to see me 2 hours ago. She told me everything. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Are you? His voice was sharp. Because it seems like you've known since yesterday and didn't tell me. I only found out yesterday when your mother visited. She said she wanted to tell you herself, that you deserve to hear it from her. So it's true. Daniel Hargrave is my biological father. The man who imprisoned you is, he laughed bitterly. I don't even know what to call him. You don't have to call him anything. He doesn't deserve acknowledgement. Eddie pushed off the door, paced to the window. My whole life, I wondered. Made up stories. I never imagined. He turned to face me. Never imagined he was a monster. Eddie. No, let me finish. He took a shaky breath. My mom told me everything. How he got her pregnant. How he threatened her. How he stole money and framed her for it. How he forced her to run because she was terrified of losing me. And you know what the worst part is? What? I've been helping you. Helping my own grandfather. And I didn't know. All these weeks, I felt this weird connection. Like helping you mattered more than just being right. And now I know why. We're family. His voice cracked. You're my family, and I didn't know. I crossed the room and pulled Eddie into a hug. He resisted for a second, then collapsed into it, shaking with silent sobs. You're my grandson, I said quietly. And I'm so proud to be your grandfather. Your mother raised an incredible man. Kind, brave, honest. Everything your father isn't. Meeting you, even before I knew who you were, has been one of the few bright spots in this nightmare. I look like him, don't I? Eddie pulled back, wiping his eyes. My mom said I have his build, his coloring. You have his genetics, but you're nothing like him where it counts. I tapped my chest. Character isn't inherited, Eddie. It's built. Your mother built you into someone extraordinary. She did. He sank into the chair. She worked 2 jobs sometimes. Made sure I had everything I needed. Pushed me to go to college even though we couldn't afford it. She never complained. She's a remarkable woman. I tried to find her, you know, after she disappeared. I never believed Daniel's story. It didn't fit with the person I'd known. We used to play chess together sometimes, talk about business strategy. She was brilliant. I sat on the bed, facing him. I should have tried harder. If I had, maybe we wouldn't have lost all these years. You couldn't have known what Daniel was capable of. He's my son. I should have seen through it. Eddie looked at me with those green eyes. My green eyes. You can't change the past. My mom taught me that. You can only decide what you do going forward. Then going forward, I want to be part of your life. If you let me, I know this is overwhelming. I don't need time. Eddie's voice was firm. I spent 24 years without a father or grandfather. I'm not wasting any more time. You're my family. That's all I've ever wanted. Something in my chest loosened. Then we're agreed. Family. Yes, family. He smiled, tentative but real. Grandpa. The word hit me hard. Grandpa. I was someone's grandpa. Say that again, I said roughly. Grandpa. Eddie's smile widened. Feels weird but good. We sat there grinning at each other. 2 people who'd been strangers weeks ago and were now family. We talked for the rest of his shift. filling gaps, building foundation. Eddie told me about growing up with Charlotte, about school and working multiple jobs. I told him about building my company, about my late wife Anne, about meeting Catherine. By the time Eddie had to leave, something fundamental had shifted. I wasn't alone. I had a grandson. Charlotte was family too. Daniel had stolen years from all of us, but he hadn't won. We'd found each other despite him, and that made everything worth fighting for. Week 7 brought momentum. Monday morning, Dr. Morrison appeared at my door. "Your attorney just called. Emergency hearing this afternoon. Based on my report, Charlotte Thomas's testimony, and Dr. Hayes's confession, the judge is expediting your release. Today? Today. Your fiancé and attorney are on their way." I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Soon. Very soon. Eddie's shift didn't start until 7, but he'd asked for the afternoon off to be there when I was released. He arrived at 3 in civilian clothes, grinning. "Heard you're getting sprung." Finally. I was dressed in my own clothes. Gerald had brought them, ready to leave this place behind. "Your grandson talks about you constantly," Dr. Morrison said, appearing with final paperwork. "He's been counting down the days." Eddie and I exchanged a look. We hadn't told the staff about our relationship yet. It was ours. Private, precious. "He's been a good friend," I said simply. At 3:45, voices in the hallway. Catherine. She burst through the door, tall, elegant, fury and relief warring on her face. When she saw me, she stopped, and her expression crumbled. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. She was shaking, or maybe I was shaking. "I'm okay," I murmured. "I'm here. I'm coming home. When you disappeared I thought." She couldn't finish, just held me tighter. "I know. I'm sorry. But I'm fine, Catherine." Behind her, Gerald appeared, my attorney, looking pleased. "Edward, good to see you intact. We have a lot to discuss, but it can wait. Thank you for moving so fast. Thank Ms. Wells. She's been relentless." "Standard procedure was too slow," Catherine said, still holding me. "I wasn't letting Daniel keep you locked up 1 second longer." I pulled back to look at her properly. She looked exhausted, dark circles, tension in her jaw. She'd been fighting non-stop. "I love you," I said. "I love you too." She cupped my face. "Don't ever get kidnapped again." "I'll do my best." Catherine's eyes moved to Eddie, who'd been standing quietly by the door. Her expression shifted. Surprise, recognition, something deeper. She looked between Eddie and me, back and forth, and I saw the moment she confirmed what she already knew. "I don't even have to ask," she said to Eddie, her voice warm. "You're his grandson. The resemblance is remarkable." Eddie looked startled. "You knew? My investigators found your mother 3 weeks ago. She told us everything. I've been waiting to meet you properly." Catherine pulled out her phone. "May I? I'd like a photo of you two together. Your first photo as grandfather and grandson." Eddie and I stood side by side. Catherine snapped the picture, then showed us. We did look alike. Same green eyes, same strong jawline, same nose and the same slight tilt of the head when we thought. 24 and 73, 2 generations, finally together. "You're family now," Catherine said to Eddie. "Whether you like it or not." "I like it," Eddie said quietly. "I really like it." More paperwork, more instructions. Then we were walking out of Whispering Pines into the late summer afternoon, and I was free. Catherine's car felt like luxury after 7 weeks in that room. Gerald sat in front with Catherine driving. Eddie and I in back. "So," Gerald said, "we need to discuss strategy. Daniel's been very busy." "Busy how?" "Moving money. Transferring funds, selling assets, liquidating investments. He knows the walls are closing in." "Can we stop him?" "We already have. Friday I filed emergency injunctions freezing all accounts. Daniel can't access anything without court approval." Catherine glanced in the rearview mirror. "He doesn't know yet. The order was sealed until an hour ago. He's finding out right about now." Gerald's phone rang. He looked at the screen and smiled. "It's Daniel." "Don't answer," I said. "Let him sweat." Gerald declined. Within seconds, it rang again. Then again. Text messages flooded in. "He's panicking," Gerald observed. "Good. What's the legal timeline?" Catherine asked. "Criminal charges are being filed today. Embezzlement, both original case with Charlotte and current theft. Fraud related to Edward's commitment. Blackmail of Dr. Hayes. Conspiracy. Multiple felonies." Eddie spoke up. "What about the company?" "That's up to Edward. As majority shareholder, he can restructure however he sees fit." I looked out the window, watching the city slide by. "I'm not dissolving it. Too many employees depend on those jobs. But Daniel's done. I'll step back in temporarily until we find proper leadership." "You sure?" Catherine asked gently. You retired for a reason. I retired because I thought Daniel was ready. I was wrong. We drove until Catherine pulled up in front of my Riverside drive home. Home, I said quietly. Inside, everything looked the same. But I was different. Gerald was already coordinating. Daniel's attorney just called. He wants to come here. Face you directly. No, Catherine said immediately. That's not safe. I want to see him, I interrupted. I want him to know he lost. But Edward. Catherine, I need this. But Gerald, have police on standby. When Daniel arrives, arrest him. Eddie had been quiet. I'm thinking I'm about to meet my biological father for the first time. The circumstances are. You don't have to be here, I said. But I do. I need to see him. Need to understand who he really is. It'll be ugly, Catherine warned. I know. But I can handle it. Gerald made the call. He's coming. 20 minutes. We gathered in the living room. Catherine beside me, Eddie in a chair slightly removed, Gerald by the window. A car door slammed. He's here. My heart raced. After everything, it was finally happening. I opened the door. Daniel looked haggard, rumpled suit, uncombed hair, wild eyes. When he saw me, he stumbled backward. You're out. Surprised? They said you needed treatment. That I needed to be locked away so you could steal from me? I kept my voice cold. Come in, Daniel. We have a lot to discuss. He entered warily, saw Gerald, and fury crossed his face. What is this? Sit down, Daniel, Gerald said calmly. I don't have to. Sit down. Daniel complied, then saw Eddie. His face went blank with shock. Who the hell are you? Eddie stood slowly. I'm Eddie Thomas, Charlotte Matthews' son. I'm your son, Daniel, your abandoned son. The silence was deafening. Daniel's face cycled through shock, denial, fear. I don't know what lies. She told the truth, I interrupted. All of it. The pregnancy, the embezzlement you framed her for, how you threatened to have her arrested if she didn't disappear. Eddie, your son, my grandson, he saved me from the prison you put me in. Daniel's eyes widened. No, you couldn't have. We can prove everything, Gerald said, pulling out documents. Original embezzlement documentation from 1996. Charlotte's testimony. Recent financial records showing $8 million stolen over 5 years. Dr. Hayes' testimony about how you manipulated her with a rigged card game and blackmailed her into signing fraudulent medical documents. Dr. Morrison's report stating you committed fraud to imprison your father. Shall I go on? Daniel shot to his feet. This is insane. Dad, I was trying to help. You tried to bury me. Your own father. For what? Money? Fear I'd discover you'd been stealing for years? That you have a gambling addiction that's consumed everything you've touched? Daniel's eyes flicked to the door. Gerald blocked it. I wouldn't recommend running, Gerald said. Police are positioned outside. Daniel went pale. You can't. The door opened. 2 officers entered. Daniel Hargrave? You're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, blackmail, conspiracy? The officer cuffed him while reading his rights. Daniel started crying. Dad, please, don't let him do this. I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught, I said quietly. That's not the same thing. As they led him toward the door, he tried once more. Eddie, you're my son. Tell them to stop this. Eddie's voice was steady. I'm not your son. I'm Charlotte Thomas's son. She's the only parent I've ever needed. But I hope prison teaches you about consequences. Daniel's face twisted with rage as the officers removed him. His shouts echoed as the door closed. The silence that followed was profound. Is everyone okay? Gerald asked. Define okay, Catherine said with a shaky laugh. But yes. Gerald's phone buzzed. His attorney wants a plea deal. What are the terms? I asked. Reduced charges for cooperation. Probably 5 to 7 years. I looked at Catherine, then Eddie. This affects all of us. Especially Charlotte. We should ask her. Catherine called Charlotte on speaker. Explain the situation. I want him to face consequences, Charlotte said finally. Real consequences. But I also want this over. I want to stop letting him take up space in my head. We discussed terms. 7 years minimum in actual federal prison. Full restitution, every dollar he stole. To Charlotte and the company. Public guilty plea admitting all crimes. Permanent ban from financial industry. Permanent restraining order for Charlotte and Eddie. He could never contact them. That's fair, Charlotte said. As long as he admits what he did, pays back the money, goes to actual prison, and I never have to see him again. I texted Gerald the terms. We'll accept plea deal under these conditions only. Non-negotiable. His response, given the evidence, they'll accept. We'll finalize by Friday. New rule, Catherine said. No discussing Daniel during family gatherings. I'll drink to that, Eddie said. We talked until midnight. Not about Daniel, but about everything else. Eddie's future, Charlotte's plans, Catherine's charity, the company. About finally having our wedding. Normal family conversation. The kind I'd thought I'd lost forever. When Eddie finally left, Catherine and I stood watching him drive away. We did good today, Catherine said. We did. We went upstairs to begin rebuilding the life Daniel had tried to destroy. I fell asleep with Catherine in my arms, finally and completely free. The next week was a blur of legal meetings, press conferences, and family dinners. Daniel's arrest made headlines. Our grave capital heir arrested for embezzlement and elder abuse screamed the financial papers. Gerald handled most press, but I did one interview. Mr. Hargrave, why remove your son entirely from the company? My son committed serious crimes over 25 years. Removing him isn't vindictive, it's necessary to protect the firm's integrity and our clients. What about the company's future? I'm stepping in temporarily as CEO. We're conducting a thorough search for permanent leadership. And I'm proud to say my grandson will be joining the company after his graduation next year. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. Clients expressed confidence. Employees sent relief. Even competitors called privately to offer support. By Wednesday, Daniel's bail was denied. Flight risk. He'd remain in custody until sentencing. Wednesday afternoon, I met Charlotte at a quiet cafe. She looked lighter somehow. Like a weight had been lifted. Charlotte, I need to say this. I should have protected you 25 years ago. Edward, you were overseas. I should have known. Should have seen through Daniel's lies sooner. I reached across the table. I can't give you back those years, but I can try to make the present and future better. Catherine already offered compensation. I said no. This isn't charity. It's restitution. Daniel stole from you. Money, reputation, peace of mind, 25 years of your life. Let me try to make that right. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I have a life now. A good life. I don't need money to be happy. What about Eddie's education? The debt he's carrying? That's his to decide. Charlotte, let me set up a trust for his remaining tuition. Not because he needs rescuing, but because he's my grandson and I want to help. Because you raised an extraordinary man while fighting battles you should never have had to fight alone. She was quiet, staring into her coffee. I've been on my own so long, she said finally. 25 years of not depending on anyone, not trusting easily. It's hard to accept help, I understand. But this isn't a trap or a takeover. It's me trying to be the family I should have been all along. Whether you accept or not, you and Eddie are family now. That doesn't change. She wiped her eyes. Eddie talks about you constantly. About the conversations you had, the chess games. About how you made him feel valued. He's never had that from a father figure. He saved me, or at least my sanity. His kindness kept me going through the darkest weeks. He said the same about you. Charlotte smiled through tears. You're good for each other. Then let me be a grandfather. Let me help with his education. Just the tuition and books, nothing extravagant. And he keeps his current job until semester ends. Commitments matter. She considered, then nodded slowly. Okay. But conditions. The money goes to educational expenses only through a trust he can't access for anything else. He finishes this semester at his job. He made a commitment to Whispering Pines. And most importantly, you stay in his life. Not because of money, but because he needs you. Because you need each other. Charlotte, that last one isn't a condition. That's a promise I'd make without being asked. We talked for another hour. She told me about raising Eddie alone. About the fear that haunted her for years. About the relief she felt now that the truth was out. About small joys, Eddie's first day of school, his acceptance to college, watching him become a good man despite everything. I told her about Anne. About the loneliness after she died. About meeting Catherine and finding unexpected love at 73. You can't blame yourself for who Daniel chose to be, Charlotte said firmly. You're a good father, Edward. Daniel had the same upbringing as your daughter, the same opportunities, the same values taught to him. He chose differently. That's on him, not you. The mention of my daughter reminded me. Beth, I said. My daughter. Did you know she's been helping Catherine with the legal strategy? Charlotte's expression shifted. Surprise mixed with something deeper. Beth? You're Beth? You knew her, Edward. Charlotte set down her coffee cup carefully. Beth was my best friend. She's how I got the job at your company. We met at a gym in 1995, became close. When I mentioned needing work, she recommended me to you. She's the reason I was there at all. The pieces clicked. I knew you were acquainted, but I didn't realize. Beth never told me how close you were. We kept our friendship mostly outside the office. I didn't want anyone thinking I got special treatment because I was the boss's daughter's friend. We'd have coffee on weekends, go to the gym together, talk about life. She was like a sister to me. When you disappeared, she tried to find me. Left messages, searched, but I was too afraid to respond. I thought if I contacted anyone from that life, Daniel would find me. Charlotte's voice broke. I abandoned my best friend without explanation. Let her think I'd betrayed everyone. I've carried that guilt for 25 years. She never believed Daniel's story. They didn't speak for 2 years because she insisted you wouldn't steal. Fresh tears. She defended me? She knew your character. Just like I did. I need to see her, Charlotte said urgently. Is she here? In the city? She flew in last week. She's staying at my house, helping coordinate everything. I pulled out my phone. Let me call her. 20 minutes later, Beth walked into the cafe. She stopped in the doorway when she saw Charlotte. Both women froze. Charlotte, Beth whispered. Beth. They crossed the space in seconds, embracing hard, both sobbing. I thought you were dead, Beth said. I looked everywhere. I thought, God, Charlotte, I thought I'd lost you forever. I wanted to contact you so badly, but I was terrified. If Daniel found me. Beth pulled back, gripping Charlotte's shoulders. He told me you stole from Dad. I told him he was a liar. We didn't speak for 2 years because I wouldn't believe his story. I knew you. You would never. You believed in me? Always. You were my best friend. Beth wiped her eyes. I'm so sorry. Sorry I couldn't find you. Sorry I got you that job in the first place. Beth? No. You gave me a chance at a better life, a good job with people who respected me. What Daniel did after, that was his choice, not yours. You have nothing to apologize for. They held each other, crying, releasing 25 years of grief and guilt and longing. I sat quietly, giving them space, feeling my own eyes burn. Finally, Beth noticed movement near our table. Eddie, who'd gotten off his shift early and come looking for his mother. Beth looked at Charlotte, then Eddie, then back. Wonder in her voice. Is that? That's my son, Eddie. Beth crossed to Eddie, studied his face, the green eyes, the strong features. She pulled him into a hug. You have your mother's brilliant mind and your grandfather's stubborn determination, she said. I'm your Aunt Beth. I've been waiting 25 years to meet you. Eddie looked overwhelmed but hugged her back. I didn't know I had an aunt. Well, you do now, and I'm not going anywhere. Neither are my kids. Your cousins. We're family. We spent the rest of the afternoon together. Catherine joined us, then Gerald. 5 people who'd been strangers or separated, now becoming family. Beth told stories about her and Charlotte's friendship, gym sessions that turned into coffee dates, late-night phone calls about life and dreams, shopping trips and movie marathons. Charlotte told stories about raising Eddie alone, working doubles to afford his school supplies, helping with homework at midnight after her shifts, watching him graduate high school with honors. Eddie asked questions about his family history, about Anne, about what I was like as a younger man, about Charlotte's work at the company, about the chess games we used to play. Beth talked about her own kids, Eddie's cousins, showing photos, promising to bring them for Thanksgiving, about her medical practice in Seattle, about how she dropped everything when Catherine called about Dad's kidnapping. Normal family conversation. The kind built on years of shared history, except we were building it in hours, playing catch-up on decades of lost time. As the sun set, Beth raised her glass. To finding family in unexpected places. To surviving darkness and finding light. To second chances and new beginnings. We clinked glasses. I looked at these 4 people, my wife, my daughter, Charlotte, my grandson, and felt complete. Daniel had tried to destroy me. Instead, he'd given me everything I didn't know I was missing. That was the ultimate justice. Saturday, September 25, 2021, dawned clear and bright. 12 weeks after my kidnapping, 5 weeks after my release, we were finally getting married. Gerald arrived at 9 with final legal documents. Marriage license, prenup, mostly formalities since you're both wealthy, and updated will and trust documents. I reviewed them. Everything exactly as specified. Most of my estate to charitable foundations. Catherine provided for but not primary beneficiary. She didn't need it. Eddie's education trust. Charlotte's restitution settlement. Beth's children's education funds. Perfect, I said, signing. And Daniel? Gets $1 and a letter. I'd written it weeks ago. Daniel, I'm leaving you $1. Not because law requires it, but because I want no doubt your exclusion was intentional. You destroyed our relationship when you imprisoned me. You destroyed any claim to my legacy through years of theft and lies. You destroyed your right to family when you abandoned your son and threatened his mother. My estate goes to charities that help people, to the grandson you threw away, to the woman you tried to destroy. You get $1 in this letter. I hope prison teaches you about consequences, though I doubt you're capable of learning. Goodbye, Daniel. You stopped being my son when you betrayed me. Edward Hargrave. By noon, guests arrived. A few old friends from the business world. Catherine's sister, Gerald, and his wife, Dr. Morrison, who'd insisted on coming. Several employees from Hargrave Capital who'd worked with me for decades. Eddie arrived with Charlotte, both dressed beautifully. Beth followed with her husband and 2 teenagers, Eddie's cousins, meeting him for the first time. You clean up well, Grandpa, Eddie said, adjusting my tie. Nervous, terrified. What if she changes her mind? She's not going to change her mind. She moved heaven and earth to get you out. She's all in. Beth appeared, elegant in a dark blue dress. Ready, Dad? As I'll ever be. At 12:45, everyone gathered in my study. The room where Catherine and I had first talked about marriage. The room where Daniel had betrayed me. Now reclaimed for something beautiful. I took my place under the flower arch with Eddie beside me as best man. The music shifted. Beth and Catherine appeared in the doorway together. Not Beth giving Catherine away, but both women walking as equals, bringing 2 families together. When Catherine reached me, she took my hands, and I forgot everyone else in the room. Margaret, Catherine's friend officiating, began the ceremony, but I barely heard the opening words. I was too focused on Catherine. Edward and Catherine have written their own vows, Margaret said. Edward? I squeezed Catherine's hands and spoke from my heart. Catherine, 10 weeks ago, I thought my life was ending. I thought my son had buried me, that everything I'd built and everyone I loved was lost. Then you fought for me with everything you had. You never wavered, never stopped, never doubted me for a second. You showed me what love looks like when stripped of everything except choice and determination. When there's no benefit, no convenience, nothing but the decision to fight for someone because they matter. I promise to spend whatever years I have left choosing you back, every single day. Building the life we were meant to have. Protecting this family we've created together. I promise never to take for granted your love, your strength, your terrifying competence when you set your mind to something. You saved me, Catherine. Not just from imprisonment, but from loneliness. From thinking my best years were behind me. From giving up. You gave me a future worth fighting for. A family worth building. A love worth every moment I have left. I love you. I choose you. Today and always. Catherine's eyes glistened with tears. She took a shaky breath. Edward, when I met you at that gala almost a year ago, I wasn't looking for love. I'd built my career, made my fortune, convinced myself that part of life was behind me. Then you asked me the most interesting question anyone had in years, and within 5 minutes I knew I was in trouble. When Daniel had you imprisoned, I discovered something about myself. I discovered I would fight through anything. Lawyers, courts, investigators, my own fear, to get you back. Because you're worth it. Because we're worth it. Because love at 56 turned out to be even more powerful than love at 25. I promise to keep fighting for us. For this family. For the beautiful complicated life we're building. I promise to challenge you and support you in equal measure. I promise never to let you feel alone or diminished or anything less than the remarkable man you are. You didn't save me. I didn't need saving. But you gave me something I was missing. A true partner. An equal. Someone who sees me completely, complications and all. And loves me anyway. I love you. I choose you. From this moment forward, Margaret smiled, tears in her own eyes. By the power vested in me by the state of New York, I pronounce you married. Edward, you may kiss your bride. I pulled Catherine close and kissed her. The room erupted in applause. When we broke apart, Eddie was grinning. About time, Grandpa. Worth the wait, I said. The reception was intimate and warm. We cut cake, toasted with champagne, danced to jazz standards in the living room. Gerald raised his glass. To love that survives imprisonment, to family that fights for each other, and to Edward and Catherine, 2 of the most stubborn people I've ever met, which makes them perfect for each other. Charlotte stood next. I spent 25 years running from the past, thinking I'd lost everything that mattered. Today I'm standing in the home of a man I thought had forgotten me, watching him marry a woman who found me when I thought I was unfindable, next to my son who found his grandfather without knowing he was looking, beside my best friend I thought I'd lost forever. Family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up when everything falls apart and help you build something better. Beth raised her glass. 25 years ago, I lost my best friend to my brother's cruelty. 2 months ago, I almost lost my father to the same cruelty. But today, I've gained them both back, plus a fierce stepmother, a brilliant nephew, and proof that sometimes love and truth are stronger than lies and greed. Dad, Catherine, thank you for fighting, for never giving up, for showing us that family is worth any battle. Then Eddie stood, and the room quieted. I've only known my grandfather for 2 months, he said, voice steady. Which seems impossible because it feels like I've known him my whole life. Grandpa, you reminded me that good people exist in dark places, that family can be chosen and found and built, even when someone tries to destroy it, that it's never too late to find where you belong. And Catherine, thank you for loving him enough to tear down every wall between you, for including my mom and me in this family without hesitation, for being the kind of person who makes fierce look elegant. To Edward and Catherine, may your marriage be long and happy and full of significantly less drama than your engagement. Everyone laughed and raised glasses. We danced and talked until evening fell. Beth's teenagers peppered Eddie with questions about college and the city. Charlotte and Beth disappeared into a corner, talking and laughing like no time had passed. Catherine's sister cornered me to say how grateful she was that Catherine had found love again. Dr. Morrison approached as I was refilling my champagne. Mr. Hargrave, Edward, I wanted to apologize again. I should have questioned your commitment more thoroughly from the start. You corrected your mistake when you saw the truth. That matters. Still, I'm implementing new protocols at Whispering Pines. This should never have been possible. She paused. Your grandson is remarkable, by the way. He advocated for you from the beginning, even when it could have cost him his job. You're lucky to have him. I am. And he's lucky to have Charlotte. She raised him to be the man he is. Family's complicated, isn't it? The best things usually are. As guests gradually left, it came down to just us, Catherine, me, Charlotte, Beth, and Eddie, sitting in my study with wine. This feels right, Charlotte said quietly. Sitting here together, like we were always meant to end up here, even if it took 25 years and a whole lot of pain to get here. Worth it though, Beth said. All of it. Because look at us now. Eddie raised his glass. To new beginnings. To family, chosen, found, and fought for. To surviving darkness and finding light. To second chances and third chances and as many chances as it takes. We clinked glasses. I looked at these 4 people, my wife, my daughter, Charlotte, my grandson, and felt something I'd thought was lost forever. Not the house, but the people in it. Daniel had tried to bury me. Instead, he'd freed me to become more than I'd been. To find family I didn't know I needed. To build something beautiful from his ashes. When Charlotte and Beth and Eddie finally left, Catherine and I stood watching them drive away. We did good today, Catherine said. We did. Married the woman I love. Celebrated with family I didn't know I had 10 weeks ago. Solid day. We went upstairs to begin our actual married life. Not the one we'd planned, but better, forged in crisis, built on fighting for each other, on refusing to let cruelty win. I fell asleep with Catherine in my arms, finally and completely free. The nightmare was over. The next chapter, we'd face together. September 2024. The boardroom at Hargrave Capital looked exactly as I remembered. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, massive mahogany table, leather chairs that cost more than most people's cars. But the people were different. I sat as chairman, a position I'd accepted as temporary 3 years ago and reluctantly made permanent when the board insisted. Beside me, Jennifer Martinez, the CEO I'd recruited from Goldman Sachs 6 months after Daniel's arrest. She was sharp, ethical, innovative, everything Daniel had never been. The board had been skeptical about hiring an outsider, but Jennifer had proven herself quickly, growing the firm by 18% in 3 years while implementing transparency measures that made us industry leaders. And at the table's end, Eddie, my grandson, graduated from college in 2022, now 27 and working as my executive assistant while learning every aspect of the business. He'd insisted on starting at the bottom, proving himself. Had spent 2 years working 80-hour weeks, absorbing everything, asking questions, taking on the hardest assignments. The old-timers who'd worked with me for decades had taken him under their wing, tested him, challenged him, ultimately respected him, not because he was my grandson, but because he'd earned it. Quarterly numbers are strong, Jennifer said, pulling up slides. Revenue up 18% year over year. Client retention at 94%. The restructuring is complete, new compliance procedures, regular third-party audits, complete financial transparency. We're not just recovered, we're thriving. The board nodded approvingly. Hargrave Capital had not only survived Daniel's crimes, we'd become stronger. Excellent work, I said. Anything else? You've been chairman 3 years, Edward. It was supposed to be temporary. But the board wants to make it permanent, if you're willing. I glanced at Eddie, who nodded. I'll stay. But I'm 76 years old. My role is ensuring the company's stable and positioned for the next generation. Within 2 years, I'll step back to advisory only. After the meeting, Eddie and I walked to my office. You're good at this, I said. Natural instincts. Strategic thinking. I have a good teacher. Eddie sat across from me. And I love it. The problem solving, the strategy, building something that matters. Your mother okay with these hours? She's fine. Her bookkeeping firm has 15 employees now. She's thinking about writing a book about rebuilding after trauma. He grinned. Says if she has to tell her story one more time at speaking events, she might as well write it down. That's wonderful. She'd be helping people. She already is. The therapy practice she runs on the side, helping women recover from financial abuse and manipulation, it's making a real difference. Eddie pulled out his tablet. Oh, Aunt Beth reminded me about Thanksgiving. You and Catherine better not cancel. We won't. How are your cousins? Good. Sarah's applying to med schools, following in Aunt Beth's footsteps. Michael's talking about business school. Eddie smiled. Big family gathering. Aunt Beth's hosting in Seattle this year. Perfect. After he left, I sat thinking about how much had changed in 3 years. Daniel had accepted the plea deal. 7 years federal prison, full restitution to Charlotte and the company, permanent restraining order, permanent ban from financial industry. He'd sent 2 letters over the years, rambling, self-pitying, blaming everyone but himself. I'd read them once and filed them away, uninterested in his justifications. He'd be eligible for parole in about 3 years. I'd deal with that when the time came. Charlotte had flourished, bought a house 10 minutes from mine, started the bookkeeping firm that had grown beyond her wildest expectations, opened the therapy practice helping women recover from financial trauma, reconnected with old friends, made new ones, built a life that was fully hers. Eddie had graduated with honors, proven himself at Hargrave Capital, moved into his own apartment. He was dating Maya, a software engineer at Catherine's old company. Smart woman who challenged him and made him laugh. I liked her quite a bit. Beth visited monthly, bringing her family. The house was loud with laughter during those weekends, cousins catching up, Beth and Charlotte talking for hours, everyone gathered around my dining room table like we'd been doing this for decades instead of years. Catherine and I had finally taken that honeymoon, 2 weeks in Italy, had settled into marriage's comfortable rhythm. Morning coffee together, inside jokes, the knowledge that this person was yours and you were theirs, completely. No more drama, just life. Beautiful, ordinary, hard-won life. My computer chimed. Email from the prosecutor. Victim impact statement request, parole hearing notification. Daniel would be eligible for parole in approximately 3 years. I stared at the email for a long moment, feeling nothing. No anger, no fear. Just mild annoyance that I'd have to deal with this eventually. 3 years was a long time. A lot could happen, and when the time came, I'd handle it the same way I'd handled everything else, with family beside me and the truth on my side. I closed the email. I'd deal with it later. I gathered my things and found Eddie at his desk. I'm heading home. You should too. Just finishing. Eddie, go home. Balance is important. He grinned. You're one to talk, Grandpa. Learn from my mistakes. I squeezed his shoulder. See you tomorrow. And tell your mother I'll call her this weekend. Will do. I drove home thinking about family dinners and second chances and the strange paths that lead us where we belong. Catherine was cooking when I arrived, something that smelled incredible and probably wasn't good for my cholesterol. You're home early, she said, kissing me. Decided to take my own advice about work-life balance. Who are you and what have you done with my husband? I laughed, pulled her close, breathed in her perfume mixed with whatever delicious thing was cooking. This was my life now. Laughter in the kitchen. Plans for family dinners. Work that mattered but didn't consume me. A grandson following in my footsteps. A family built from ruins. Not the life I'd imagined 3 years ago. Imprisoned and alone in Whispering Pines. A better life. A life worth fighting for. A life worth every battle we'd fought to build it. I love you, I said. I love you too. Now set the table. Charlotte and Eddie are coming for dinner. Again? They were here 2 nights ago. And they'll be here 2 nights from now too. Get used to it, Grandpa. You wanted family, you got family. I smiled and went to set the table, thinking about how lucky I was. How Daniel had tried to destroy me and instead had given me everything I'd been missing. Family, connection, purpose, love. We ate together, the 4 of us, talking and laughing. Eddie told stories about work. Charlotte shared news about her expanding business. Catherine announced she was funding a new scholarship program for women in tech. Normal conversation. Normal life. Hard-won and precious and exactly what we'd all been fighting for. After Charlotte and Eddie left, Catherine and I sat on the porch with wine, watching the city lights. "Do you ever think about him?" Catherine asked quietly. "Daniel? Sometimes. Not as much as I used to." I took her hand. "Mostly I think about how he tried to bury me and instead freed me to become something better. To find the family I didn't know I needed. To build this life with you. That's very evolved of you. I'm a work in progress." I squeezed her hand. "But I'm working on it with you beside me. With Eddie following in my footsteps. With Charlotte finally free. With Beth in our lives. That's what matters." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. Daniel had gambled everything on cruelty and lost. I'd bet on love and won. And that, in the end, was the only revenge that mattered.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let me know what you think in the comments and tell me where you're listening from.